Welcome to AER Int channel and welcome back to comprehensive course. So in the previous lecture we have discussed about the introduction to the relations and dimensions, and we have also seen about the concept of defined, fully defined, over-defined and under-defined sketches. And we have seen this with the help of a very random example of shape, and we have also seen about the use of this defined and undefined concept in the SolidWorks. So now in this lecture we are going to see how we can just create a fully defined sketch using only dimensions. So as I told you in the previous lecture that we can just use a dimension and relation to make this sketch fully defined. And we can also use the combination of both. It's not necessary that we can only use the dimensions or we can only use the relations. We can have the multiple combinations, so that we are going to see later on. But now in this lecture we are going to just make this sketch fully defined with the help of only dimensions. So let's start our SolidWorks and then just find out this thing in detail. So right now we are going to take the same example of the circle over here. I have already created one circle, and you can see that the circle is completely undefined or underdefined. We can see that it can move really anywhere, so it's not properly defined. You can see over here downward that it is written underdefined. It means that we have to define the sketch. Just make you'll notice the color of the design. This is blue right now, so let's just see how to make the sketch fully defined. And as I've told you, just notice the color over here as well. So as I've told you that we are only going to use the dimensions, so we are going to click on the smart dimension. And firstly we have to see what the movement that we have to constrain. So we can see that right now this is moving anywhere. So this is the fixed thing over here. We can assume this axis to be the fixed 1, 0, 0. And we can just define anything with the help of this, with reference to this axis, and that will going to be the fixed one. So in this whole infinite canvas, we can just make this one, and we can assume, or this is the only thing that is fixed, which is the origin. So now we can tell the circle that we can move here and there. We can just make a horizontal dimension ourselves with this origin and make it as 100. So now we can see that I have told the circle to just maintain 100 of distance between this origin and our center point. Now we can see that if I try to move the circle, it will not going to move left and right. That's because I have told the circle to just maintain the distance that is provided, which is 100. But still circle can move up and down. This thing I haven't constrained, so now I just tell the circle to just maintain a vertical distance with this origin. And let's just make it as 100. Now we can see that the circle is completely fixed to its position. Now it can't move left and right since I have told that to maintain the distance of 100 with telling the width dimensions. So I have just mentioned the dimension over here. I have also told the circle that you don't move at up and down, which is mean always maintain 100 to this origin. So we can see that it's completely fixed. Now we can just assume this to be the successfully defined, fully defined sketch. But wait, over here we can see that one thing is written which is the one that's underdefined. So here it is right fully defined, but still it is mentioning the underdefined sketch. So why that so? We have just fixed this position, but still it is misleading underdefined. That's because the radius of the circle is still not fixed. We can see that it can have multiple radius, or it can just vary its radius. So fully defined, which means to define or to fix a circle with its dimension as well as its position. So if we want to make any of this sketch fully defined, you should always make its whole thing to be defined. So let's just see what happens when we provide the radius of this circle. So just go for the smart dimension and just provides a radius or diameter, that doesn't matter. And let's just make this diameter as 80. So now we can see that here the concept is changed. Now it is written a fully defined sketch. It means that this sketch is completely fixed now, and we can see the color over here that has become black. So there is different terminology or a different method of different softwares to mention the fully defined or undefined sketch. So yes, this concept that we are studying over here, the relations and dimensions, this concept that we will see in every CAD software that we are going to possibly run. So this concept that we are talking over here is not limited to only SolidWorks, and there are different ways by which a software represents the sketch or the condition of sketches. Here in SolidWorks, similarly in CATIA, represent with the color. But here we can see the difference in color. If the sketch is underdefined or undefined, it will going to represent it with blue color. But if it is completely defined, it is going to represent it with the black color. So we can see that here it is underdefined written. If I'm going to provide the diameter that is 80, we can see that it is fully defined now, and it is completely black. Now we can see that it is not able to move anywhere, and it will also not going to change this radius. So it is completely fixed. So now what happens that this hole, a system of dimension, is enough to make the sketch fully defined. But still, what we are going to do, we are going to just provide inclined dimension, let's say, to this value. Here we can see that the SolidWorks doesn't require this value, since it is satisfied with whatever the value that we have provided. But still, as a user, I want to provide this value. So if I'm going to provide this value, we can see that what is happening. The sketch has become yellow, or the dimension has become yellow, and a dialog box is appearing over here. So what this dialog box telling to us? That making or just providing this dimension will going to make the sketch overdefined. So the sketch will going to become overdefined or unable to solve. It means that this unsolvable sketch can also happen. A sketch cannot be detected, a sketch cannot be understood by the SolidWorks as well. So what do we want to do? There are two options that is provided over here. Make these dimensions driven or leave these dimensions. So if I'm going to make this mark, they can make it okay, then this dimension will going to be deleted. But if I'm going to make this dimension driven dimension, and if I'm going to make this dimension okay, we can see that now everything is fine. Everything has become black, but the dimension that is provided over here, it is still blue color or become gray. And that's because this dimension has become a driven dimension. So what is driven dimension is basically, SolidWorks is telling us that this dimension is not necessary for us, but we as a user, we want this dimension. So I'm going to make this dimension as driven. It means that this value is not going to affect this whole sketch. Now what is happening that, let's just say the second definition of this driven dimension is that this dimension is dependent upon the rest of the dimension. So if I'm going to make this one as 200, so what is happening now? We can see that this will automatically going to change. So this is what driven dimension is. Firstly, this will only going to represent a value. And secondly, it will going to alter itself automatically with the change in other dimensions. So that's why it is known as driven dimension. We can see that nothing has changed. It doesn't change the 100, it doesn't change 80, but it's only changed that this driven dimension by changing this 200 value. Similarly, if I'm going to change any other values, like I'm going to make it 150, we can see that this driven dimension is also changed. So this is a use of driven dimension over here. Now, what happened that some of the people ask me this kind of question, that what if we delete the sum of the dimensions? So if I'm going to delete these dimensions, can SolidWorks take this one as the main dimension, and it will going to convert this dimension to the main dimension? So let's just delete it. So if I'm going to delete this one, we can see that nothing is changed. So it will not going to convert this to be what is the original dimension. It will going to make the sketch undefined, and it will not going to convert this to be the original dimension. It will only going to make it as driven dimension. We can just provide a new value from here to here. And now it has become completely defined again with this inclined dimension, but it has not converted this driven dimension into the original dimension. So this is one of the query that people ask a lot of time. So this is all about the dimensions, or this is all about how we can just make the sketch fully defined with the help of only the dimension. In the later lectures, we are going to see the relations as well, and we are going to implement the relations for this fully defined sketch as well. So that's all for this lecture, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like. I hope it can be a little helpful and useful.